once said, a sign of a good leader is not how many followers you have, but how many leaders you create. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nerdy Optometrist. This is your host, Ukti Vora. Our guest for today is a leader in the eye care industry. And not just eye care industry, he has done a lot of work in various other domains. In this conversation, we are going to learn a lot more about his journey in eye care and the other areas of expertise that he has to offer. Our guest for today is Mr. Vinod Daniel. He's currently the managing trustee of India Vision Institute, IVI, a collaboration between L.V. Prasad Eye Institute and the Brian Holden Vision Institute to assist with uncorrected refractive error in about 100 million people in India, as well as assist in developing a vision industry for India. His work is definitely a journey which is an inspiration for all of us. And it's a pleasure to have him for this podcast episode. Thank you so much, Mr. Daniel, for being my guest.
Thank you so much, Uti. It's a pleasure to be here. And thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
It's an honor, sir. I actually am going to dive directly into my questions because I have a huge list, which I have to cover within the short time I have you. So to begin with, my favorite question is a little bit about your background. I know when I did a little bit of research and digging into it, it's nowhere in eye care or optometry, but you are the leader who is actually, focusing in this segment. So let me know, how did your journey begin? And tell me a little bit about your background, sir.
Sure. My background is I'm a chemical engineer. So I went to, I studied at IIT Delhi. And then after that, I did my master's in the US. My career actually took my chemical engineering into the museum sector. So that's where I made my career. I used to work for the Getty Museum in Los Angeles. Then I worked for the Australian Museum. Then I was working globally quite a bit on projects. So I worked in about 40 different countries. And I sit in a number of different boards, including the chairing the current Australian Heritage Network called AusHeritage. So that's very much which was my background. Then the Australian Foreign Affairs Minister at that time appointed me to one of the boards in Foreign Affairs in Australia. Mm-hmm. And during that time, I got to meet Professor Brian Holden, who was also part of that particular board. And Brian, as most of the listeners would know, is a pioneer in the eye care sector, especially in optometry.
Absolutely.
And he had a big heart for India. So I used to come to India for my museum-related aspects. He used to come with regard to optometry. And we started talking. And then he was very keen to do something to assist India with regard to uncorrected refractive error. Mm-hmm. And that's very much how IVI was formed. IVI is an independent trust established. It's an initiative of L.V. Prasad and Brian Holden, but it operates as a totally independent legal entity within India. Our prime interest is to assist India with regard to uncorrected refractive error. In short, our mission is short. It says augment primary eye care capacity of India.
That's such a wonderful. From museum to eye care and, leading this institute, I definitely would want to know. You did share, how you met Professor Brian Holden, and we all know the legacy he has left and the impact he has created in Indian optometry. But how did the transition happen where you started getting more involved in IVI? Making that, apart from your current museum piece, which is already keeping you busy, I'm sure. How did you started, moving towards the IVI sector?
Yeah. Look, I moved from the US to Australia, and I've been in Australia since 95. But in 2010, I made a conscious decision to leave full-time employment. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to do something on the social front in India. And this was the right time when I met Brian and when I noticed the huge enthusiasm he had, plus also the big need in India, mm-hmm. Including probably more than 100 million people needing access to a pair of spectacles, but don't having access to it.
Right.
What can we do to make that kind of a difference? I thought I should commit a percentage of my time to do that. I have a very good team that supports me. We have a team of close to 15 plus professional staff, including about 8 optometrists. So it's great to work with a great team and a great vision.
Absolutely. But it all happens when we have great leaders like yourself and Professor Brandholden, of course.
So thank you so much. Yeah.
Talking about the refractive error, we did chat this a little bit, offline of the impact. When we are talking about, providing vision, we just feel that, hey, I'm just, providing a pair of spectacles. But what impact can it have, say, for a child or an adult? If you could share a little bit based on your experience.
Yeah, sure. Look, I mean, I think in a country like India, there are millions, probably tens of millions, maybe even more than 100 million people who need access to a pair of spectacles but don't have access to it.
Right.
Now, what does that basically mean? For a child, 80% of what a child studies is visual. So if they don't have a pair of glasses, they probably don't study as well. And research has shown that children normally do much better at studies if they can see the board well.
Right.
Now, with adults, a lot of people, as they get older, they need access to a pair of spectacles. If not, their productivity goes down, their earning capacity goes down. They say both the productivity and earning capacity can go down by as much as 30%, not having a pair of spectacles.
Right.
The chances of them having an accident is more. There's a whole range of other social impacts.
Right.
India as a country, I understand, just the productivity loss is in several billions of US dollars. And often, the factors that contribute to this issue is one is lack of awareness that this is what they need. All they need is just a pair of glasses. The second issue is access to an optometrist who can test and provide them a pair of glasses. Now, both are important factors. In the latter, India needs about 120,000 trained optometrists, but at this point, it's got less than 40,000 trained optometrists. So it's got hardly 1/3. And hence, the problem is most of the trained optometrists tend to be in tier 1 and 2 cities, the main cities in India. And the smaller cities and the villages get left out. So that's the magnitude of the problem. And that's what we are trying to do, is to make a small difference, in solving this.
Well, small difference, I have to differ on that word, because I personally know what huge impact you're doing, and not just, providing glasses, but you all are focused on various other aspects as well, which I would like to discuss in a little bit. But talking about, scaling, as you mentioned now, majority of the optometrists or practicing optometrists are, in the cities or the major areas. Now, in healthcare, when you're trying to provide not just glasses but quality eye care in remote areas, and scaling this to the level where IVI is could be very challenging. Can you tell me how was that challenge, and how are you able to scale it and reach these rural parts of India?
Look, I mean, I think there are several great NGOs that are doing amazing work in India, including the LV Prasada Institute, the work that Shroff Charity Hospital does, CL Gupta. I mean, there are many great NGOs that do extensive work. In our case, what we decided to do was, again, on two fronts. So on the practical front, to screen and to provide support, we tried to focus quite a bit on children, especially school children who need access to a pair of spectacles. So our focus has been to work with the corporation and the tribal school system where underprivileged kids go. These are the kids who probably don't on a regular basis go get their eyes checked. I mean, a significant percent, maybe as much as 95% of them have never had their eyes checked. So if we can work with an established school system structure and make a difference, we thought that would be great. And so that's been, our interest. We've done, several hundreds of thousands of screenings and providing glasses so far. We are also launching a major campaign where we want to touch up to 1 million kids over the next 3 years. So this has been a very, very strong focus. We also tend to work with adults and communities. And again, adults and communities, it's a small aspect in what we do because we tend to often work only on the uncorrected refractive error aspect. When it comes to adults, there are a number of other things that are important, including cataracts and other aspects. We do work with hospitals, but we don't cover the whole gamut of eye care. Hence, we've been going a bit slower on the adults. We tend to screen, provide glasses, and then refer them to the other providers who can help them with other things. So far, we've screened and provided glasses to over maybe 400,000 individuals so far.
I think I have to highlight one very important thing that you mentioned here, even being IVI being an independent institution organization, how collaboration can make wonders. But even though you are focusing on, kids and providing glasses for uncorrected vision, collaborating with major NGOs and institutions that do take care of adults as well, I think that's a huge thing which is needed in the eye care industry overall. The collaboration can actually help in scaling and providing the best eye care and the healthcare for any country that we are working towards.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I think collaborating with other NGOs and hospitals is important. We never do a screening anywhere without collaborating with a major hospital as a referral partner. The other thing also to keep in mind is I think the biggest and the best infrastructure often is with the government. It's important to collaborate with the government, whether it's a primary healthcare center or whatever it is, or the school system or whatever. They're all part of the government. So it's important to work, both with the government and the non-profit sector.
Right.
In making the difference. The government does a good job, but I guess they also have their limitation in resources. So part of our interest and mandate is, how to probably assist and fill a particular gap there.
Right, absolutely. I think what you highlighted makes it so much more valuable. Thank you for sharing that. Now, talking about four major core areas where IVI is working, is definitely working in the sector of eye health awareness, which you mentioned. You are also working at continue education and realizing, the need and the gap that you just mentioned, that there are 40,000 odd optometrists or eye care professionals available, but the requirement is way too high. Even though this is like a global gap, which everyone is trying to build, but in India, it's huge.
Yeah.
You also have programs in leadership and research. So I want us to touch all these four areas and how each of them works. If you can talk a little bit about, to begin with, eye health awareness, how are things planned or how are the programs executed in that segment?
Yeah. So, in terms of awareness, as I mentioned before, I think one of the biggest impediments is people are not aware that all they need is to go and get the eyes checked.
Right.
And get a pair of glasses. Often, cost is not the biggest impediment, but people not knowing and people not having access to some place where they can go and get their eyes checked. So what we've done is, in a smaller way, in many cities, we've had large awareness walks. So we have a thing called Walk in the Dark, where we work with a blind school and we blindfold certain people. We get key dignitaries, including movie stars and other celebrities. And the key thing is then the media becomes a great partner in taking the message across. And it's important to note that it's usually often the local language media that plays a bigger part because that's your target audience. So So I think,
right.
In terms of awareness, that's something to keep in mind. One of the projects where, we had a bigger role was a project through the Fred Hollows Foundation, working in Uttar Pradesh. It was quite a large project, working with a range of partners. Called the campaign was called the See Now campaign. In the See Now campaign, the person whose face really drove the campaign was Amitabh Bachchan. So he did work very closely with Fred Hollows. There's a whole bunch of promotional messages that came, and that went all the way to the rural end. And the message was simple, saying, "Go get your eyes checked." But the additional level was to make sure there are mechanisms available for them to go and get their eyes checked, whether it is, a vision center or a major hospital or even having camps which could be the first point of contact. So we made sure, that access was possible, and also people were aware that this is something that needs to happen. So overall, I think India being such a big country, it's extremely important that we keep pushing the awareness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel the walk in the dark, I have been part of it when I was back in my optometry school, because we did have these walks like everywhere all across. I think it was World Sight Day or something where we had the walk uh, organized by every optometry institute just to promote and, create that awareness. So yes, definitely that did help. At least even though there's awareness, even in cities,
Right.
people don't take it seriously. They're like, I don't have any eye problems. So I feel as much as we are not able to cater the rural part, we did create a little awareness campaign even in the cities like Mumbai. Now, can you tell me about the continuing education, the leadership program, and the research, which are the other three major components which IVI, is focused and investing in?
Yeah. We were very keen to be of assistance to other existing bodies when it comes to education, continuing education. So I think over the past 8 years since IBA was initiated, we've done hundreds of programs in many different fronts, right from helping some of the academic institutions, some of the teachers who teach there on some of the teaching methodologies. We've also done quite a lot of programs on targeted topics that were of interest, to professionals. We worked with a lot of people who work in the ophthalmic sector who haven't had much continuing education in terms of strengthening them, on certain aspects. So it
Right.
carried a whole range. We also have worked, quite a bit with the student community in getting top people from around the world to give occasional talks, monthly talks, so that they could interact and get to know on what's happening, around the world. So our focus has been not to run a graduate level program, but to work with others who are running that and see how we could support. And also currently, as I mentioned before, you have close to 40,000 people in the sector. Out of that, maybe 75% are not 4-year trained. So those people also need quite a bit of continuing education and support, in what they do. So that's been, one key focus. In terms of research, in the beginning, we started with a greater emphasis on PhDs, getting more PhDs in the sector, and we did give out some scholarships, and we had, a few people who did receive scholarships. But then we realized it's not that easy to find candidates because, again, the research culture needs to happen from a much more younger stage. So we are focusing quite a bit in terms of undergraduate students supporting research projects, having competitions and other things, so that their research is appreciated and highlighted. And so we are doing a range of things, in that front. And even our conference right now, the one that we are putting together, that's happening next weekend, October 3rd and 4th, is also going to be a good forum where many of these people are going to come and present their latest research findings. So we have more than 160 submissions.
Wow.
Probably more than 70% would be from India. So I think all this does help. So it's to get the research culture going and to support where that's needed. Leadership, it's a young sector. Like any young sectors, it's important that some of the younger people get that broader awareness on what it is to be a leader and take the profession forward. As the profession grows, as the profession becomes quite significant, it's important that we have good leaders who can then take over. And with that in mind, we have established a young leadership program, and we have worked with close to 45 young people over a 5-year period, so that they are exposed to what leadership is, both theoretically as well as talking to people who are leaders in the field globally. And the idea is very much to equip them, whether they want to take the role of heading an institution or an educational provider, or be part of an association or whatever it is.
Right.
You need those people to have that exposure and leadership. So, all these things are things we're working closely with. And I mean, like every other trust, we also depend very closely on working with partners who support us. So we're very thankful to a lot of the industries who have been very generous in providing support for IVI.
That's wonderful. I have to actually highlight two things when you said about research and leadership. I did have a conversation with another guest where they said research is a very integral part to grow a profession and create its identity. We might, and when I started research, a bit of a research back in my optometry college days, we remember there was not much work done in India. You could find hundreds of research papers which are being published outside India, and the data might not be even relevant to your population. So encouraging research and putting that out is definitely creating a lot of positive impact in the
Mm.
optometry profession here. And another thing, when we talk about leadership, I feel that's again what I've learned from another guest is the mindset. We,
Mm.
in schools and institutions, we are mainly focused on creating a mindset of being a clinician or an amazing optometrist, but imbibing this idea or a mindset of being a leader even at that age can really impact in bringing up the change that we are looking in the profession.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I totally agree, and I think when you're young, you're not too set,
Right.
and that's part of the reason why we got the Young Leaders Program. And I think you need both theory and also you need exposure.
Right.
So, I mean, you look, I mean, I really appreciate what you're doing because you're there, you're talking to people, and you're doing some very pioneering work. And the more you talk to people, the more your world grows. And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, and that's what we do in the Young Leaders is we get some of the top people in the world to come do sessions, interact. We also work a little bit with journalists and others in terms of communicating because it doesn't matter how good you are and what you do. If you can't communicate,
Oh yes.
you don't really succeed. Then there is also this big struggle between what is leadership, what is management.
Yeah.
Leadership is lonely. So, people need to understand that, that it's not, always being good and doing the right thing. So once in a while, you've got to put the neck on the line. Then, how do you kind of survive in that kind of world?
Right.
So a range of topics. So.
Absolutely, absolutely wonderful. Now, as you highlighted, during that information about leadership and research about the upcoming virtual conference, I think it is very important for us to focus and talk about it as a little bit about what that conference is all about, and what are we trying to cover and accomplish in that.
Look, I mean, this conference, we have always wanted to do a large face-to-face conference. Now that's not possible. Hopefully, in years to come, it may be possible. So right now, we thought we should actually do a large online, but try and replicate what may happen in a face-to-face conference. So this particular conference, we do have lectures, we do have virtual exhibition booths, we do have places where the delegates can talk to each other. And right now it's actually got to a stage, I mean, we got a week to go, but we got close to 1,100 plus delegates. And we also have delegates from more than 36 countries. And we have some of the best people in the world who are giving keynote talks, including the chair of LV Prasada Institute, Arvind, somebody from the World Health Organization is speaking, somebody from the US is speaking on myopia, and we got some great panels and other things happening. We also have a lot of invited papers that are being presented. Like I mentioned before, we had close to 160 submissions. Out of that, a number of papers have been shortlisted. Others are going to be part of the poster session. So we have parallel sessions every afternoon and plenary sessions every morning. So it's a 2-day conference with, again, the main sessions in the morning and all the parallel sessions in the afternoon. We are trying to fit as much as we can. There's a virtual exhibition which is part of the conference. The day before the conference, there's going to be a number of pre-conference workshops. And again, all the delegates are free to register. Then the previous evening, we got one of our sponsors, actually a platinum sponsor, Luxottica. They're going to organize a talk on, fashion meets eye. So in terms of the thinking behind how they get the spectacles done, and they are world leaders in what they do. So it's going to be a great opportunity. I strongly encourage a lot of people to just log in and be part of the conference. We kept the registration fee to a bare minimum. I think it would be very easy for everybody to be part of it. Our idea is so that we can get more people who can actually reach out and benefit from it.
That's wonderful. Just for all the listeners, I'll be adding the link in my description to register and just check out the IVI website as well as the upcoming conference. And I would definitely recommend, as much as we all wish to have a real face-to-face conference, to have those networking events, meeting people which you would not otherwise meet, but currently the entire world is going virtual, and that's what even the conference is titled, the EyeHealth in a Changing World, and it's actually changing in every aspect. So I would definitely encourage everyone to be part of this conference, and do check out the link in my description to register and join the event. All right, I do have a fun segment which I call rapid fire. Inspired from many talk shows, something which brings people at the edge. So the rules are simple. I'll be asking you questions, and the first word or the first answer that comes across, do share. And it's going to be a little more fun and candid. So we would like to see the fun side of Mr. Daniel here. All right. So are you ready, sir?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I definitely know that you're part of two professions, one in chemical engineering and now in eye care. If it wasn't for these two segments, which other profession or role do you see yourself in?
Good question. I probably would have enjoyed being a sport administrator. I think sports has got a lot to offer.
Oh, wonderful.
And I do meet with a lot of sports people. So I guess being part of that sector would have been quite exciting.
That leads to my another question. Is there any sport that you love to play or you did play back?
Look, I think like most people, we used to dabble with a lot of sports. I used to really love basketball.
Uh-huh.
And I do follow basketball a bit in a global level. But otherwise, I watch most sport, based again on time, either the highlights or if it's a shorter format game, the whole thing.
All right. Wonderful. Next question. If we were to write an autobiography about your journey, definitely I would recommend anyone hearing, please write a book about his journey. It's truly inspirational. But if we were to write a book about your journey, what would the title be?
I tried.
I loved it. And I would write, and you succeeded and inspired.
Well, look, I'm happy to try. I think all of us need to try. And whatever happens, it's beyond our control. If we don't try, then I guess we're missing out on something.
Absolutely. All right. Next question. What do you do on your time off? Whenever you do get that, what is your idea of relaxation or taking your time off?
Usually every day I try to fit at least 1 hour of exercise, so including walking and doing something.
Oh.
So that's part of my routine, and that helps me to wind down. I also do enjoy an evening catch up with friends and family and others, and a nice quiet evening with the dinner and spending some time. It's good. I professionally I travel quite a lot, so I do enjoy going to new places and seeing new cultures.
Wonderful. Talking about traveling, my next question: which has been your favorite destination?
Yeah. See, in terms of my travel, I do love living cultures. Cultures that are quite vibrant. So two places that I love are, one is in Myanmar, in Burma, older Burma, a place called Bagan. I love Bagan. Then there is, in Laos, next to Cambodia, the old capital, Luang Prabang. Mm-hmm. All these are extremely rich. Both are very strong Buddhist sites. And I think both are my favorite destination.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Talking about food, I'm sure it's everyone's favorite topic. Which is your favorite cuisine, or a specific dish that you love to enjoy?
I do experiment, but I do love Korean a little bit. So, if a bit of a Korean barbecue, which has got, the right marination and the taste. I mean, I guess as Indians, we do love, the flavor. We still have the Indian tongue, and I think Korean works really well.
I agree. I agree to that 100%. I'm also a Korean food
Yeah.
fan. All right. If you had to change one thing in optometry curriculum or add something in an optometry curriculum, what would that be?
See, I'm not a very technical person there, but what I really would add is the whole thing on entrepreneurship. I think we need more. So people actually going out and establishing outlets, because I think one of the biggest needs is for a number of these optoms to go there and establish themselves, especially when it comes to the tier 3, 4 cities and villages. What's involved in getting that done, and succeeding, I think would be important, because I think that's what India really needs now, is more outlets outside the main city.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, with that, we do end our rapid fire. Thank you so much for sharing the candid side of your life. We really enjoyed it. And before I let you go, one last takeaway message that you would like to share with all my listeners.
The needs are very high in India, and I think all the optometrists who are here listening, I think you're doing a great job. What you're doing is so meaningful. It's so important for India. Just keep doing it, and keep doing your outreach efforts. And if you can, please do reach out a bit more outside the main cities of India.
I think that is a very, very important message that you share of, maybe not move completely out of the main cities, but do contribute through various camps or, various organizations where you can contribute some time to provide your expertise and skills, which might not be available in those rural parts of the country. So with that, thank you so much, Mr. Daniel, for sharing, all the insights and your stories, the behind the scene, how everything happened, and we truly appreciate everything and all the efforts done by IVI. Thank you so much for spending this wonderful time with me.
Thank you so much, Apri. Thanks for your time.